Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another week of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. I'm Gary Mack.
And Rich Baxter over here. How you doing, Gary?
I am doing fine, Mr. Baxter. How the heck are you?
Not too bad. Now we straightened out some of those gremlins we usually get before show, courtesy of me this week. So we're back talking baseball, and God, we lost another legend of the game last
Oh,
week.
my goodness. Yeah, just recently, and I don't know what's happening here, but Hank Aaron passed away at the age of 86, and the home run king in my estimation. Rich, what about you?
Yeah, still the reigning home run king in my eyes. Hank Aaron, a guy that I grew up with, and I'm sure you did too, Gary. I'm a little younger than you, but some memories about Hank Aaron with me is he was the quiet baseball player that just got it done on the diamond. You didn't have the big stage that these players have today back in the
Right.
70s and the 80s, or early 80s. I think it started to change. But he sort of just quietly got the job done.
Yeah, he was some hitter, and I think a lot of people don't realize that he really was. He hit a lot with his wrists. He was a wrist hitter, and if you ever saw his bats were really a thin handle with a big barrel, and because I remember when I was a kid, you'd get the playing ball and everything. You'd get the uh, the Hank Aaron model or whatever you want to call it from Louisville, and it was always a great thing when you got that bat.
Oh yeah, that was the gold standard, so to speak, of the day, and just a historic name around baseball. Hank Aaron. And I had an audio cue ready to play for our listeners, but my mixer sort of, I haven't used it in a while, so it probably had a setting or two that I didn't have right. So unfortunately, I won't have that for our listeners, but yeah, Hank Aaron, I remember as a kid, I watched that home run. I was watching the game, of course, and, it was still played up and hyped up for people to watch it.
Yep.
And it was a phenomenal experience, really.
It certainly was. I can remember where I was that day. I was in Loretto, Pennsylvania, as a matter of fact. I was in college, and it was a night game, and we were all clustered around a TV. Um, and I remember going crazy when he hit the home run, and it really was something to see that ball get out of the ballpark and to break the record. Even though we've talked about this, I have a connection, if you will, sorta with Babe Ruth. My mother had her picture taken with Babe Ruth, and we've discussed that before on this on this show. So I'm not going to go
Uh-huh.
back through that. But it's it was still quite an achievement, and he went through a lot to get there.
Yeah, he did. A lot of years in the league. Now, I was looking over Hank's stats before we did the show, and I was starting to wonder to myself, would there ever be another Hank Aaron in our lifetimes again? Because the guy put in the years, and that's how a lot of these players achieve the greatness that they achieve. He started in at 20 years old, 1954, and his
Right.
career spanned to 1976. He was 42 years old, a 25-year all-star player, which is amazing. MVP, won the World Series in 57 with the Milwaukee. Um, Two-time batting title for Hank Aaron, and he's got a lot of accolades. I mean, Uh, a lot of these players today don't get called up at 20 years old anymore.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I saw that really was astounding to me was the uh, that he had no off years. I mean, he had 20 seasons of 20 home runs. He never really hit more than 47 homers in a season. That was the most he hit, and but he was so consistent.
And
And that was the whole thing. He you know, in his 23 years, his consistency, and even at the age of 40, he was fairly consistent.
yeah, and as a home run hitter, we've seen this many times. You're either going to hit a home run or strike out. With him, that wasn't the case. He didn't strike out 100 times or more during any season. He came close in 1967. He struck out 97 times, but any time other than that, it was in the low, 60s, 70s, 40s, 50s. That's unheard of for a home run hitter. And he had a lifetime batting average of 305. So if you want to argue that he's probably one of the better all around players, uh, who happened to be a home run hitter, I don't think you can get much better than that.
And I found this stat to be incredible. But before I tell you that, he was a good defensive player too. He had a rifle for an arm, a great, terrific right fielder. But you he his 755 home runs. If you took that away from his hit total, he still would have cracked the 3,000 hit mark, and he would have had 3,016 hits if you took away all of the home runs. So
Yeah.
as you said, that he didn't strike out a lot, and he was a terrific hitter. So he would have been in the Hall of Fame anyway as a 3,000 hit guy, and just a fantastic ball player. He was what you'd call a 4-5 tool guy. He could run good, especially when he was younger, of course. And I mean, I saw him play. Um, when did he retire? What year was that?
1976.
76. Yeah. I guess I saw a good half of his career because I can remember seeing him against the Mets in the early 60s. So saw him in person in starting in 64, 65, a few times when Milwaukee would come in to play the Mets. So what a ball player, just could do it all and very graceful. If you looked at him, you would almost think, let's see, you would almost think like he wasn't trying hard,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, exactly. Yep.
because he was one of these guys that he glided. Watch some if you watch tape of him even today, from his when he was younger and all. If you watched him, he would hit the ball, and he didn't look, like some of these guys were like, he would just kind of just shh, and he kind of glided, and but before you knew it, he was at the base, So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, just a terrific ball player, and of course, he had a good. He played on some good teams. You mentioned that he was a world champion and pennant winner. Played in the '50s in the World Series. I think that's the only World Series he got to play in, the two in the '50s. Um, I could be wrong about that, but I believe that's the only World Series. He did play in the playoffs in '69 against the Mets, but they were eliminated. They were in Atlanta by then, I
Uh-huh.
believe.
Yeah, let
So
me scroll down to his playoff stats here, postseason. Yeah, as you said, 2 stints in the World Series, 57, which they won it. His age was 23, and 58, and then
Hmm.
69
Oh,
playoffs
yeah,
against the Mets.
in the playoffs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Never got back to the World Series again, but had his one shot. But
But look at those
uh,
batting averages in the postseason. 393 in the World Series, his first year, 57, when which
yeah,
they won it. 333 and 58, and 357 in 1969, 11 years later.
and look at his age too.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah, it's amazing.
36.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was productive all the way pretty much to the end of his career. And uh, what can you say? The sad part about all of this is, and look, he's 86. He lived a good long life and all of that. The sad part is we've lost so many Hall of Famers now. I mean, there's been 10 in 9 months, Rich, that have passed away, and
Yeah.
you know it's a question of just getting older, though. I mean, they were all fairly old. A couple of them probably were a little younger than others. Tom Seaver was 75. So you could say that's a little young. You'd like to see him, but Hank Aaron was 86. Lasorda was 90, able something, and they had good long lives and good long careers.
Yeah. Yeah. As we've been saying, legends of the game. There's a lot of legends. Some are more legendary than others, but a lot of loss in the past year with COVID and what's been going on. And some of that has fueled the baseball card market, believe it or not. I mean, a lot of cards have taken off. The card collecting hobby is back with a fierce vengeance. Not so sure it's fueled by the deaths, but a new group of youngsters are picking this hobby up, and this is actually feeding into it a little.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure that there's a lot of that, and uh, that a lot of it is because they are, as you say, they're passing away, and their signatures are going to be astronomical now.
Yep. So another legend of the game lost, and we hope this stops for a time here. It seems like every month something's happening with this, but yeah, Hank Aaron, 86 years old, broke the record back in April 8th of 1974.
And Rich, this is a baseball show, but we also lost another, I guess, a big baseball fan, you might say. And Larry King passed away, the world famous radio broadcaster and TV guy. He passed away. He was a huge fan of Brooklyn Dodgers, and then continued when they moved to LA. Still followed his Dodgers, and you'd see him in the front row of Dodger Stadium there, sitting when they showed the center field camera. A lot of times he'd be at the ball games, trying to get out to every game. Of course, the last couple of years he's been not in the best of health, and this year um, wasn't allowed to go. But his Dodgers did win the World Series, so uh, you know, just wanted to mention that he too passed away, and get well soon to Davey Johnson, the former manager of the New York Mets and the Washington Nationals and other clubs, who is in the hospital right now battling COVID. So, Davey, I hope for a quick recovery, and get well soon, because baseball still needs you out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of COVID anxiety is going to take place, I guess, still, with probably less than a month yet to go to the start of spring training for 21. Um, we haven't heard too much updates on whether fans will be there this year. I don't know. Have you heard anything,
I
Gary?
haven't heard a word, no, and we're still waiting to hear about the whole uh DH thing in the National League, whether or not that's going to be continued. They're still talking about the seven inning double headers and starting extra innings with the guys on second base, which we both discussed and are not in favor of. Uh, but no, nothing about whether the season's going to start or what. They're still hoping to start, but it is really getting close now. We're less than a month away from what would be the traditional start of spring training. So I don't know what's going to happen at this point. Teams are getting ready. They're making trades. Got some trades and deals and people signing, and we can talk about that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a big question mark, and again, I keep saying that I thought after the 20th things would be clarified a little bit. I I mean, it's after the 20th. We still have no real clarification. I think they're kind of waiting to see. I think they want to get the players vaccine, so they don't have any outbreaks like they had last year, or at least to try to control it as much as possible. I don't think the season, if it starts on time, I don't think that fans will be allowed for the first couple of months. I mean, they're still talking about how bad this COVID is. There's a new strain now that's even deadlier. And they're not sure how everything works out. I don't think this new administration was really prepared for this at all, as much as they say they had a plan, and all of a sudden they don't have a plan. I don't know how that happens. Oh, I've got this plan. We're gonna attack this, blah blah blah. There's nothing going on. I
Well,
mean,
maybe they need this guy on the mound for them. The Dr. Fauci card
Dr.
here.
Fauci, yeah, yeah.
It had one of the biggest all-time high print runs.
I can't believe that.
At Topps Now, 51,512 cards ordered here.
Well, I don't. Go ahead.
Highest print run to date. And I've heard that they had the Bernie meme being issued by Topps Now.
Oh, God.
Don't have a picture of it, but that's what they say.
The Bernie meme. Where Bernie hasn't gone since that picture, huh?
The mittens.
He's been everywhere, him and his mittens. And I can't believe Fauci's got the biggest. I don't even want to get started in that, because then we'll be in the whole. We'll have to change this to a political discussion show then.
Yeah.
Not a fan. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, Rich, the modern day player today is really
spoiled.
Yeah, you could say that, I guess. I was reading an article about the Yankees, and they're counting on their young catcher Gary Sanchez to bounce back at the plate after a lousy 2020 season. And they didn't they could have designated him for assignment. They did not. They kept him. They offered him a larger than expected raise to $6.35 million a year. Now he's going to get $6.35 million a year.
Uh,
And look, I get it. You know, we all do things that we don't enjoy our job, but according to he's playing winter ball, and according to Hall of Fame catcher Ivan Rodriguez, who I believe is working with him, he says Ivan Rodriguez says he doesn't enjoy baseball right now. He feels like he comes to the ballpark and it's a depressing thing for him. That's what I see when he's playing. Well, you know, if that's the case, then walk away, because now it sounds like he's taking the money. He likes the money, but he's not getting any joy out of it. And then, of course, we all have that time in all of our careers where we can't stand our jobs, and we have to go to pay our bills, but we're not making 6.35 million either.
right.
You know, and I found that this guy, he was highly touted, and he's been a bit of a head case, and I think this is a perfect example. And you know, we say that Ralph Kine used to say that there were a lot of players at AAA that were better ball players than a number of them in the majors. That had more talent with just, you know, better ball players. He said the difference was up here.
Right.
That some guys like a Pete Rose, his mind was so strong, his will to win and to succeed.
Yeah.
Whereas some of these guys with talent, you know, don't, maybe it came easy all their careers or all their lives, and when they have to get that extra push, they don't have it mentally. And a guy like Sanchez, I mean, he got to the major leagues, I guess, on his talent, but it just doesn't seem like he's got the mental love, or whatever you want to call it, to stay there, or to even learn. You know, and we don't know the guy, but the articles you see about him, you know, he almost sounds like he's lazy and don't care. And it's almost like an indictment on other players. I'm sure every team has one or two of these guys, and it's just a shame when you're doing something that you loved as a kid. It's a game, and you're getting paid that kind of money. Man, sometimes, you know, work a little hard and suck it up a little, Buttercup.
All right. Another player that made the news this week. Similar story. Chris Bryant from the Cubs, the Chicago Cubs, says that he's not having as much fun playing baseball as before. And it's kind of not hard to believe. He's 29 years old now. He's accomplished quite a lot in his playing career as a baseball player, but he's taken a lot of flack in Chicago. Why the Cubs haven't succeeded well after winning their World Series, perhaps. This is his last year with the Cubs. A lot of people are saying he probably will be dealt at the trade deadline because he's a free agent
Mm-hmm.
next year. So Chris Bryant also saying kind of the same thing. He's under pressure in Chicago, you know, listens to a lot of things, I guess, said about him. And he commented on a podcast this past week that, yeah, it's true. He's just not having, it said at times, no, he's not having as much joy and fun on the field, saying, quote, it really got to me sometimes, the stuff I was hearing,
Right.
the trade rumors that started to pop up really got to me. And he says, I find myself thinking, man, is this even fun anymore? Why did I start playing this game? Because it was fun. So maybe Chris Bryant will get back to the fun part of the game.
Chris Bryant will get traded, and he'll immediately find the fun part of the game, especially if he goes to a contender. You know,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know. I guess I just come from a different school of thought, and there's a certain pamperedness that these guys get that the old timers didn't get, and they're still not happy. So
That's true. Speaking of another guy that wasn't happy, look at the screen if you're watching the video here. Here's that card. I wasn't kidding. You can order it from tops.com. You can get several of them if you want. And I find it hilarious that this card is being made because we've seen it all over internet, social media, Facebook, that sort of thing. Now you can buy it on a baseball card.
Wow, it's just amazing, isn't it?
Yep.
Just incredible. Well, Rich, you know, we've been doing this show a while now, and we have very few sponsors.
Yes.
And we'd like to get some sponsors, and you can help us out on this show. We're trying to do new things, but it's not cheap, and it's all out of our pocket. And you can help us out by going to anchor.fm/baseball talk radio show. And as Rich is showing now, if you're watching the video, the Patreon page, patreon.com/baseball talk. So go to either one of those sites and, select the membership level and become a part of the community, become a part of the Baseball Talk Radio Show family. And Rich will tell you more about some of the rewards there. And we'd love to put your name up on the screen that, that you helped us out. So, Rich, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, that'll be awesome if you join the club, so to speak, sponsor the show. If you listen to us, we don't put a lot of advertising into it that I know of, depending on where you're listening to the show from, of course. But we have some goals in mind. And Gary was talking a little bit before the show. He wants to get an improved computer so he can give us a better video capabilities. So I want to put it out to our listeners. Let's try to do that. Let's try to get together. And if you want to make a different donation other than going to the anchor.com or the patreon.com site, give us an email, rich@baseballtalkradio.com or gary@baseballtalkradio.com. Let us know. We can send you a PayPal request or Zelle if you use that. But I want to sort of grassroots this, try to get a nice laptop together for Gary. He's wanting to improve the show. So like I said before, all these things are used to improve the show. We're not making a bundle on this podcast like some other hosts do. Some hosts have 100 different Patreon supporters. So we need to start small and accumulate a few. If you're listening, please consider it $1 or $2. View it as a cup of coffee a month. I'm not talking every day. I'm talking a month here. It's not going to set you back too much. But the goal is for Gary to get a laptop. So we're thinking $700, $800. So if we can gather that up, especially before spring training, maybe, or before the season, surely I'd love to see if we can do that as a group here, listener sponsored, and we will be sure to mention you. Thank you.
Yes, and if you'd like to be a part of the show, if you have a question or a comment or anything you want to just say your piece or rant or whatever, you can give us a call at 516-619-6341. That is a hotline number, our voicemail number. And if you call, leave a voicemail, and we'll be sure to play it on the show. And if we can answer it, we'll answer it. If not, we'll research it, try to answer it. Or if you just want to tell us how wonderful we are and how you love the show, that's great too. or do all of that above. Tell us how great we are. Ask us a question and leave a comment. You can do that. You know, just call 516. It's probably a one where you are, wherever that may be. 619-6341.
Awesome. So we can't wait to hear from you and you to become a sponsor for this show, the Baseball Talk Radio Show. Stop by the website over at baseballtalkradio.com. I'm constantly trying to upgrade it. I'm going to try to make some changes for 21 since I think it's probably going to be a better season. Try to get some more podcasts listed there as well. Maybe even bring back the 24/7 player. I discontinued it last year due to the shortened season and things like that, but it's still on the back burner. So as Gary was talking earlier in the show, we have some big signing to talk about, and the Blue Jays ended up with probably the top free agent of the offseason, Gary.
Yeah, the Blue Jays signed George Springer. The Mets and the Blue Jays were the last two teams, apparently, according to the press reports, that were in the mix for him. And he decided to go to the Blue Jays. Now, you know, the Mets thought they had a chance when he said that he wanted to play close to his home in Connecticut. Well, you know, it's a lot closer to New York to Connecticut than it is to Toronto. But he made his decision. You know, I just wonder if he figured he'd stay in the American League. Uh, you know, he can be used as an outfielder, but he's 30, 31. So, you know, in the third, fourth year of the contract, I think it was for 7 years. You know, from the fourth year onward, he could be a DH or whatever. That may have came into his mind. We don't know, but George Springer goes to the Toronto Blue Jays, so it leaves two of the big names are still out there. Rich, JT Realmuto, who I think is probably going to end up with your team,
the Phillies, perhaps.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't use Twitter much, but I did tweet out one thing last week. I didn't delete my account completely yet. But I was saying
like I did,
or Facebook, I think I posted it somewhere. Why are the teams allowing these players to take so long to decide? If I offer you a contract, if I'm a private businessman and I say, Gary, come to work for me, I want to pay you $1 million a year, and you take 2 weeks to let me know, are my feelings hurt? Yes.
Yeah.
How do these teams let these guys get away with this time and day and age?
I don't know. I don't know. I would think that I'd want to know as quick as possible so I can plan my team and do whatever else I have to do. But I think it's a weird age that we live in now with this pandemic. It's changed a lot of things. It's, you know, maybe they figure the longer they wait, if he gets no other offers, they might be able to come back with a lower offer if, you know, or whatever. If they made him an offer, maybe they figured as long as the money's in the bank, it's getting interest, so they don't have to lay it out. I don't know. I just don't know. I would want a quicker answer, and I think you know teams have to start doing that. But I think everything is such in a crazy position now because of the pandemic that I think teams are just they're not operating the way they used to.
Yeah, that's for sure. Springer with a 6-year deal. I'm surprised at that. That's a long contract for the Blue Jays. 31, as you mentioned right now. A couple years, he could be effectively done. So I don't know if I would have done that contract if I was the Blue Jays, especially as you said, it's still the COVID type of season, uh, that sort of stuff hanging over baseball and things like that. JT Realmuto still hanging out there, as well as another couple big names, Trevor Bauer,
Trevor, yeah.
Ozuna. The Mets signed Marcus Stroman. Let's see who else is out there. Nelson Cruz, a DH at 40 years old. I don't know. He's still ranked highly, though, as top 12 free agents, believe it or not.
Yeah, and that, like I said, I think that could have played into Springer's decision as well, staying in the league with the DH. Uh, he changes divisions, but he knows the league. So and Toronto's made a couple of moves, and they hope that they have done the right thing. Just looking at a couple of these moves here, the Cincinnati Reds acquired Hector Perez from the Blue Jays, and so the Reds have acquired right-hander Hector Perez for a player to be named later or cash. The Nationals are going to re-sign Ryan Zimmerman. He is Mr. National, I guess, so that's why they're bringing him back. A one-year deal worth $1 million. So doesn't seem like they went crazy with him. J.A. Happ goes to the Twins. Let's see. The Padres re-signed Jerickson Profar. The Astros agreed to a 2-year deal with Jason Castro. Astros also are going to re-sign Michael Brantley, and the Blue Jays signed Kirby Yates. And the Cubs have agreed to a 1-year contract with free agent catcher Austin Romine. So people are starting to sign some of the lower level to mid-level free agents. As we've been talking about, the two of the top ones are still available. Trevor Bauer. I think what teams are doing probably are filling lesser needs, if you will. And now the Mets made the big trade for Lindor and Carrasco, and they had a need for a starting pitcher. They really didn't have a need for a shortstop, but if you get a player of that level, you go for it. Excuse me. The Phillies have made some deals to fill out some holes that they had, and I think that's what you see in a lot of teams do at this point, and that's why a Realmuto and a Bauer is still out there. Now, don't forget, Harper didn't sign until when? February, right? 2 years ago.
Yeah, it went on quite some time.
Yeah. So the signings aren't as quick as they used to be, and part of that is the pandemic. Part of it is, I think, people waiting to see what the market is, and some of these guys, they get an offer, they grab it. Some of them delay, like you said. So,
yep. So there's still plenty of big names out there for teams to pick from. It'll be interesting to see how that fills out. I think we'll probably see that start filling out within the next couple weeks as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's sooner we get to spring training, guys have got to make a decision. There's been, some of them have offers on the table, or they've I'm sure that all of these guys the Mets made an offer, I believe, to Realmuto, or they had numbers out there, and he dragged his heels. So the Mets wanted to make sure they got one or two of the catches, so they signed McCann, and Realmuto missed out.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Bauer's got some interest from some teams, but is he playing him against one another to drive the contract up? Who knows?
Yeah, went for my annual trip to the bookstore to pick up my latest MLB type player rankings and things like that. There was only one out, and I think it was Lindy's or something, and it didn't have anything in it, so I didn't buy it. But
Yeah.
I'll probably wait another month before I do that now because there's so many players that are hanging out there. I'd like to sort of get them on a team before I purchase one of those, but that's what
Right.
I always do
Right.
around around now. So not much out there right now. So probably another month for that, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how when you look around, it doesn't seem like there's a lot, but there's a lot of small things going on.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think a lot of teams are uh, filling needs or lower level needs, if you will. And I mean, Springer was the big fish, and I would expect more now from certain teams. Certainly, I think we're going to see something from the Mets because I think they were waiting on Springer. They'd like to get a center fielder, but now do they want to go for the bigger name, like a Jackie Bradley Jr., or go for a lesser but solid center fielder, but a lesser, more of a platoon type of guy?
That sounds good. We didn't mention as well Don Sutton passing away,
Oh, yeah.
75 years
Another
old.
Hall of Famer.
Another Hall of Famer this past week. Don Sutton, I remember him very well, pitching for the Dodgers for many years and passed away at 75 as well. So, yep, as you said, Gary, we're having too much loss in baseball. Hopefully that'll subside a little bit. We can get spring training underway at least and get back to some sort of normalcy. Everybody wants their normal routine back.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if we really want to. I shouldn't even go there, but I read a disturbing story the other day that some Hall of Fame voters want their ballot back because they want to remove Curt Schilling from it. Apparently, they had voted for Curt Schilling, and then after the January 6th event at the U.S. Capitol, he must have came out and I'm not sure what he said. I'm not going to say he wasn't in favor of it, but he didn't criticize it, I guess, highly enough. Um, and now they want to punish him. That Come on.
That's wrong.
That's that's thank you. Uh, the Hall of Fame is supposed. It's what you did on the field, and I, you know, if you went to a lot of guys' politics, you wouldn't like what they do, but it shouldn't have anything to do with it. Now, does Schilling have a big mouth and does he talk too much sometimes? Yes, he does. But the guy has been fired from jobs for it. Don't take this away. If you voted and felt he deserved it, then don't you cannot take it away because you didn't like a comment he made or he didn't agree with you.
That's the
It's
ultimate in what's wrong with how this whole process goes down, by the way.
right, right, and it's what's wrong with this country now too.
Yeah. On a
I,
side note, we won't get too far into that again because we want to appear in the middle. We don't want to take a side here or there, although those that listen most of the time probably know, but
right
uh,
now, I think they're quite aware.
but it's just one of those things where it should be about baseball and not about what you had for dinner last night. If that sort of thing. Don't take a guy's postseason after his career and pigeonhole him into one thing or another because of something he does off the baseball field, and it's over. His career is over.
Yeah. And that's what you base it on. Uh I'm sorry you don't agree with them. Um there are plenty of guys that I don't agree with. But if we boycotted movies from actors that we didn't agree with their politics, uh, what would people would criticize us? Now you can criticize us and say you're hypocritical. You're going to see the guy's movie, but you can't stand his politics. Well, no, I can like a guy's music, but can't stand his politics, and there's quite a few of them. I love Neil Young. I don't agree with all his music, but I like his music.
Yeah.
But his politics, I think he's a whack job.
And just to get back to Curt Schilling again, he's another guy that you don't see that often in baseball anymore. Came up at 21 years old, and I'll put this on the screen just for our listeners on YouTube video. By the way, you can go to YouTube and search for the Baseball Talk Radio Show and see a video portion of this show. And Curt Schilling went from 21 years old to 40. 216 for the wins, 146 losses, 3.46 ERA. Was flirting with the Cy Young more than a few times, finished second 3 times, fourth once, multi-year all-star pitcher. Let's see who he's compared with the most here real quick.
Co-MVP of a World Series.
Yeah. Let's see here. He certainly has the numbers. If you can see this Hall of Fame statistics on the screen, if you're watching on the video, he does have numbers to be a Hall of Famer. With the gray ink, average Hall of Famer is 40. He's got 42. Pitching, average Hall of Famer 185. He's got 205 as far as the stats and the monitors and things like that. Hall of Fame monitor, likely Hall of Famer is 100. He's got a 171. Now, the only thing he falls short of a little bit is Hall of Fame standards. Average Hall of Famer is 50. He came in at 46, apparently, and however they take these readings. So he's one of those guys that's close. I followed his career, and he had a long career. Is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know. John Smoltz is a Hall of Famer, and he's a similar pitcher. But look at some of these other guys' names here. Tim Hudson, Oral Hershiser, both not in the Hall of Fame. So
well,
arguably,
look, you got Justin Verlander too, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Zach Greinke, Kevin Brown, that sort of thing. But I don't know. He's a guy that's been in the game for years. Certainly seems very close to that stats wise. And we'll see what happens when they announce it.
Well, to me, if you're going to put Harold Baines in, who I don't think was a Hall of Famer, Schilling is definitely a Hall of Famer. His stats are much more impressive, and he won. I mean, he won wherever he went.
And I wonder what he would go in as. What kind of player would it be? The Phillies? He played 9 years with the Phils. Would it be Boston, which he had some great success and certainly made the most money of his career? And I believe he still lives up in the Boston area somewhere. And interesting to see that once a player gets nominated to the Hall of Fame, who are they going to go in with?
He might go in as one of those blanks too.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, all politics aside, even.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, he's probably his worst enemy. But
yeah, because he's constantly on Twitter. He's constantly letting you know what he feels.
Yeah.
He would be well to delete his Twitter account and just fade off into the sunset. Some guys love that stage, though. He's one of those guys.
And why shouldn't he have the right to give his opinion? That's the thing. If
old saying about a body part, opinions are like blank. Everyone has one.
Got one, yeah.
So take that for what it's worth.
I just think it's not right that what we're trying to do nowadays and shut people down because you disagree with them. And we used to disagree a lot and discuss it. And
agree to disagree.
Yeah,
is what they say.
Not anymore. It's not going that way. Maybe I'm just I can get away with it. I'm an old man, so I can say I'm just a grumpy old guy.
Get
off my lawn.
Sage advice. Yeah, somebody was walking their dog on my lawn the other day. Get off my lawn.
See?
Get off my lawn.
You're getting there already.
Come on, private property. If I wanted a dog, I'd walk it on my own yard.
There you go.
Well, we thank you for listening to this edition of the Baseball Talk Radio Show. Look forward to bringing you much more. Remember, we need that new laptop for better video functions. We need your support. So let's show Gary how much we can support it.
Okay. And Rich, you have a good week, and everybody out there have a good week. We'll see you next time on another Baseball Talk Radio Show.